Hey, love, what if I told you a little secret? What if I told you a secret that's going to change your life? You ready? You want to hear it? Drum roll, please. It is not your fault. You're right saying, what are you talking about? What's not my fault? Your weight. It's not your fault. One of the most game changing things that happened for me in my own weight health journey was a caring healthcare provider who sat me down after watching me struggle for so many years say, Michelle, it's not your fault. Mind blown. Because you see, up until that point, I actually did believe that it was my fault. I felt that I wasn't exercising enough, even though I was going to the gym several times a week. I was cutting back on my food. I was doing everything that the traditional medicine told me that I needed to do, and that was that I needed to eat less and I needed to exercise more. I even sustained uh, injuries as a result of trying to exercise more in order to change my weight because I didn't know. Even as a nurse, yep, I'm a well trained nurse. Even as a nurse, I didn't understand that obesity was a disease and that it wasn't my fault. That all the exercise, all of the diets, and there were many, there were a lot of diets, and there were a lot of gym memberships, a lot of programs, and none of them could give me the results that I desired. And so when that caring healthcare provider, who was my primary care physician at the time, sat me down and said, Michelle, this is not your fault. This is a disease. And it's a disease that might require several different treatment tools in order to get you to a healthy weight and to improve your overall health and quality of life. And for me, that was absolutely empowering. And so I know that you watching this probably feels like a familiar story. And so if you've been doing everything that you know to do, and maybe even you have had some treatments and you still are not at the weight that you would like to be, I'm just here to tell you that it is not your fault and that the disease of obesity is very complex. And I also want to share with you, if you're a black woman like me, that 57% of us live with the disease of obesity. And so a lot of this has to do with our biology. It can be with our environment. It could be with our levels of stress. There's many, many things that can be impacting your weight. And 1 in 3 American women in general struggle with obesity. 70% of perimenopausal women struggle with overweight or obesity. So when I think about that and I look at those statistics, and I hope that as you listen to this, you actually will start to think for yourself that, hey, maybe this is out of my control. Now, is it hopeless? Absolutely not. With the right tools, with the right care, with competent healthcare providers, absolutely you can get to a healthy weight. And I'm not talking about being skinny because, as you can see, I'm not skinny. There's nothing skinny about me. But I can tell you that I have lost and kept off over 80 pounds over a period of time. I can tell you that my type 2 diabetes has been in remission for several years. I can tell you that my joints feel a whole lot better. I can tell you that my overall health is in better shape now than it was probably 10 years ago. But that's because I got the memo. And I want you to have the memo too. So I have this great announcement to make. And I'm starting a podcast called Dear Healthcare Provider. And Dear Healthcare Provider is a podcast that is designed to bring together healthcare providers, patients, and policymakers to have meaningful discussions about health, and particularly about how do we change these narratives that cause us to see ourselves in negative ways. We call it weight bias. How do we crack the code on developing the tools? How do we crack the code on getting equitable care? How do we crack the code on changing the overall diet narrative that we've been fed for so many years that is so negatively impactful on our overall health and well-being, and how we see the disease of obesity? So I'm going to encourage you to follow me, because Dear Healthcare Provider is coming. All of the places that you like to listen to your podcast, and I'm asking you to follow, to tune in, and be empowered by this valuable information and community that we are about to create. Let's go.